What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and with Destination D23 coming up this week, and really the main convention part of it being next weekend, everyone was assuming if there were going to be park announcements that they might make them during that, even though there is no dedicated parks panel at the Destination D23 event. Disney released some information about some of the things coming to the Disney parks, a little bit of, I guess you could just say, sneak peek at a few things here. So we're going to take a look at what they did announce, and are they going to have any other announcements at Destination D23? There are some questions out there. I think some people are pretty disappointed to not see a dedicated parks panel, but I actually think that could end up being a good thing for Disney to get out of having these, big splashy presentations about things coming to the parks. And some of the things Disney announced involved the Beak and Barrel, a little bit of a preview of what is coming to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, little sneak peek at Rock and Roller Coasters rethemed to the Muppets, and when the opening date of the new Zootopia show that is coming to Animal Kingdom. But we will start by heading over to talk about what's happening over at Beak and Barrel and what you can expect there. I will say some of you may have seen a previous video that was out there where I had basically said that Destination D23 had already happened, as I thought it did. I had a really busy weekend, and I wasn't anticipating anything coming to the parks panel. I saw these things announced, and I really didn't have a whole lot of time to dig into it deeply, and I kind of just assumed, and I got my dates wrong. So I apologize. I wasn't trying to fool anybody. I just had a lot of stuff going on, and I didn't do my due diligence, but this is my makeup video for that past video's errors there. So we'll first talk about the Beak and Barrel. This is one that is, I think a lot of people are excited about this. This is the lounge going into Magic Kingdom. And a lot of people have talked about, concept art when it comes to Disney and final products don't seemingly add up. But many times you're talking about controlled indoor spaces. For the most part, when it comes to Disney and that stuff, they usually are pretty accurate with those, which I think does make sense, given I think a lot of times at the big D23 events, they want to make a big splash, and many times they overpromise and end up under-delivering considering the final product, which, you can have budget cuts, you can have lots of logistical changes that have to happen for a ride or land. But you're talking about these smaller controlled spaces here. For the most part, they end up looking a lot like the concept art. But I will say, this lounge here does look pretty cool. It looks like from floor to ceiling that this is very well themed. It's got a lot of obviously pirate stuff in here. It even has some homages to Jack Sparrow. But all the booths, the lounges, everything in here looks very well themed and accurate. So essentially how this will work is it's going to be like Oga's Cantina, and you got 45 minutes, a themed lounge. It's going to work very similar to that. And this has already had some issues with reservations. The day that reservations opened, the website completely crashed. So I think part of that is to demand. Some of that was speculated as well, that there was bots out there that were kind of messing up the website, which is very possible. But I do think that this will be a very popular thing. And I know there's some, people talk about alcohol in Magic Kingdom, and a lot of people, they don't like it. All I'm saying about it is we're kind of well past that, considering they already serve alcohol at lots of restaurants in Magic Kingdom. I suppose the compromise there is you can't just walk up and get it anywhere in the park. You have to go to the sit-down establishments to do it, and this lounge being one of them. But it's also, to me, it's kind of like Oga's Cantina mixed with Trader Sam's a bit, is kind of the vibe I'm getting. But from what they're showing, it does look pretty good. I'm sure there's going to be very expensive drinks, as you would imagine in a lounge in a theme park. But in terms of theming and what they did with this, I think it's a good idea. And I think that they'll probably end up doing a lot more of these into the future, these themed lounges. You've already seen them do this a lot on the cruise ships. They have a Haunted Mansion one. I think they have a Doctor Strange one. They do these a lot on those, and I think this is a concept they took over to the theme parks. So I'm not going to be surprised at all if you see more of these. I don't know if they'll do more in Magic Kingdom. I do still contend Haunted Mansion, I think, would make a really, really popular lounge. But I think you'll see more of these end up popping up all over property, because lounges and places that serve alcohol tend to do pretty well when you're talking about theme parks, especially at Disney World. And the sections of the bar you have are The Mess, and this is the first large and lively space you'll find is The Mess. They talked this whole thing in Pirate Talk. I'm not going to do that because I don't think you guys want to hear me talk in pirate the entire time, but they wrote most of this article on Disney Parks blog as if a pirate wrote it. This says, it was once a mess hall for Spanish soldiers before it was claimed and repurposed by a cunning crew of pirates. It says, be sure to look up as you enter to see a ship's bell. And rumor has it, this bell was from Captain Red's first ship gifted to Mary at the tavern's founding. Some say they're close friends or perhaps fierce rivals. So apparently the backstory is Mary is a woman that opened up this bar for pirates. And then Captain Red, of course, is the retconned red-headed pirate that is now part of this. So apparently this is an entirely pirate lounge, apparently headed up only by women, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if that's a normal thing for pirates or not. I don't know. But apparently that's the case here. You'll also find long tables perfect for pirates to gather around to tell tall tales. You also see detailed mermaid windows salvaged from the wreckage of an infamous pirate ship, caked with barnacles and filled with mystery. Then you've got the Cursed Bar. It says, brimming with an impressive collection of rare bottles and prized spoils kept behind lock and key. The massive skull-shaped bar anchored to the side of the mess is the eye-catcher of the space and has heard many, many shanties sung in its shadow. At its heart rests the enchanted rum bottle, an ornate bottle of grog which sits in a place of honor in its own special cove, gifted by a powerful enchantress. The tavern's barrels and the pirates' cheer will never run dry as the bottles stay full. Then they have a bird in here. It says, perched atop the bar, Rummy welcomes patrons and keeps an eye on the crew, quick with a story, joke, or song as he wobbles out from his main roost in the hollow of the skull's eye. Then you have the captain's quarters. It says, expect a taste of the finer life. Once the private residence of the Spanish Commandant, its walls were lined with grand artwork and rich drapery. Yet time and the rowdy hands of pirates have left their mark with slashing blades and hot embers. You also find an elegant fireplace in here. That'll be great in the summer, if that's actually a fireplace. Atop the mantel rest miniature ships and glass bottles. Yet ye not to be on the lookout, as there here small vessels are known to come alive and engage in a fearsome bottle-bound battle for any who dare to watch. So they have these mini ships kind of from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, where they kind of have a battle between the bottles there. So they have some little interactive elements there. Then they have the captain's booths, and it says, along the wall, find 4 grand booths with intricately carved wooden panels. Each booth tells stories of the exploits of notorious pirates whose legends still echo across the seas. And then you have the map maker's room, and this is filled to the brim with rolled up maps, pieces of parchment, spilled ink, and many treasured secrets that belong to a, some say, crazed pirate cartographer. So I think all in all, it looks pretty good. From the concept art, what they're seeing here, I think it'll be very successful and probably very hard to get a reservation here, if I were to guess. And they also announced some further details about the reimagining or redoing of the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. They say in 2026, the iconic Big Thunder Mountain Railroad will reopen with new magic, and today we have new details to share about what to expect when it opens. It says, the story of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad dates back to olden times, or rather golden times, during the early days of America's first major gold rush. When Barnabas T. Bullion struck gold in the Big Thunder region, he saw a future full of riches and hustled to start the Big Thunder Mountain Company. However, them shiny dreams rarely come without a cost, and Bullion quickly found himself in a battle with the forces of nature and in a whole heap of trouble. One day, strange and unexplainable things started happening. Machines failed, cave-ins shut mines down. It says, no matter how deep the miners dug into the heart of the mountain, the forces of Big Thunder Mountain fought back. And they said, in addition to the action and adventure we know and love, Big Thunder Mountain will reopen with new magic for fans to discover. One such moment comes when the trains rattle their way underground to the spectacular natural caverns full of phosphorescent pools shimmering and illuminating iridescent stalagmites, the ones on the floor, and the stalactites, the ones on the ceiling. The rainbow caverns certainly are beautiful, but they're not as friendly as they first appear. Basically just announced that the cavern section of the ride is going to be illuminescent. I think are also going to add some other elements. I think like Disneyland's has the projection technology where it looks like the dynamite's going to blow in there and things like that. I think the main thing they changed in some of the verbiage is it used to say that the mines were closed or it's an abandoned mine, and now it's not an abandoned mine anymore. It's like essentially haunted or something like that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of updates. I mean, okay. I'm not against having the cave scene have these lighting in here. I don't think it's a big deal, but that's really all they said about Big Thunder Mountain and kind of changing some of the backstory. But I don't actually think they're going to change too much about this, if I were to guess. I say that, and they probably will. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like too much is really changing about this. But it is supposed to open in 2026 or reopen in 2026. They also shared some details about the electric mayhem that arrives at Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. And what they basically showed here was the guitar here is staying. They're going to retheme it to Muppets. Essentially, what we kind of all suspected was it's not going to be much changing here. They're basically just going to change some of the elements in here to Muppets. It is not going to be closed down for that long, really. They're going to say the Electric Mayhem are headlining their biggest Hollywood concert ever. Anyone in attendance to witness Animal, Dr. Teeth, and the rest of his groove-tastic group rock the house down. Says across town at G-Force Records were treated to a VIP tour of the legendary rock and roll recording studio. Things might look a little different around this Hollywood institution as the label has recently come under new management, the Muppets. We're happy to say that our colorful crew has landed some new digs with a little help from Scooter's uncle, real estate tycoon and owner of the Muppet Theater, J.P. Gross. And they say about the guitar, for fans of that really big guitar, you'll be stoked to know that the newest residents of Rock and Roller Coaster are putting their own spin on that ruby red paint job. It says a vibrant and psychedelic new design will grace the bottom of the guitar. And the piano motif at the base will feature golden keys as a nod to a certain far-out band leader. And they talk about in the studio. With your VIP passes, you'll be welcomed inside the recording studio where, wouldn't you know it, you'll find the Electric Mayhem are cranking out some seriously rocking tunes. We'll see Scooter doing his best to convince Electric Mayhem to stop jamming and get to their increasingly restless fans, but will it be enough to get the band across town and on stage in time? So essentially, it's the same ride. They're basically just taking Aerosmith out and just putting the Muppets in. So it's along the lines of at least what I was expecting with this. I wasn't expecting a completely brand new type of attraction, just basically just a different overlay on top of this. What the hell? And they're going to say, with the help of our friends at Muppet Labs and the very fast limousine, we'll take a twisting, turning, and screamingly fun road trip across Hollywood to reach the concert in time. So again, it's basically the same storyline of this ride, just with the Muppets overlay. So I don't think that's shocking news to anybody, but they did have some concept art here showing, in the recording studio, part of this ride. But given how quickly they're going to turn this around, they weren't going to do much to it. I still contend, I think this was a very reactionary move. I think they really saw the reaction to Muppet Vision 3D going away and realizing they could just plug this into Rock and Roller Coaster because Aerosmith is not a relevant band anymore. And trying to appease people on that end, but I think that's basically what they did there. And then they had an announcement about Zootopia, and this is Zootopia Better Zoogether, opening November 7th in Animal Kingdom. They say, when you migrate over to the Tree of Life Theater, you'll find you arrive just in time to the main stage for the Zoogether Day festivities with familiar furry faces and new friends like Heidi Howler, a slick-talking wolf who hosts the Zoogether Day live broadcast with excitement, energy, and quite a bit of howling. It says Zoogether Day, a celebration of unity amongst the diverse biomes across the city, will be recognized with special performances such as ice skating spectaculars from the heart of Tundra Town, synchronized swimming direct from Marsh Market, Tiny Mouse drone shows soaring over Little Rodentia, and of course a musical finale by Superstar Gazelle, all of which we'll see from the live stream watch party. It says, with talented cast from the films like Jennifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, returning to lend their voices to these beloved characters, and contribution from filmmakers Jared Bush and Byron Howard, working closely with the Walt Disney Imagineering team to bring the attraction to life. This also coincides with Zootopia 2 opening November 26th, so I'm sure that that is part of the push for this, of course, but I don't know much about Zootopia. I think I saw the movie once. I didn't think that much of it, but it did make over $1 billion. So I don't know how the second one will do, but so all in all, the announcements here, they're okay. Like, you're talking about the Big Thunder Mountain stuff. You got some lights on a scene. I don't think that's a really big deal. I'm sure they're going to have more things that they'll show about what's coming there. I don't think Rock and Roller Coaster is a big shock to anybody, given that I don't think anybody was anticipating that was going to be a major retheme by any means. They're just basically going to put the Muppets where Aerosmith was, maybe change a couple things here and there. And given how short a time that ride's going to be down, I don't think anybody's really anticipating too much there. I think the biggest news is probably the Beak and Barrel. As you know, say what you will about the lounges. I know some people are disappointed by it, but it does look pretty good in terms of the theming of it. It doesn't look from the pictures that they, took any shortcuts. There's no IKEA tables in there. Everything looks actually like it should be in a lounge that is themed after pirates. So on that end, it does look pretty similar to the concept art as well. And of course, with these announcements, as well as, they already announced what is replacing Launch Bay over in Hollywood Studios. That is going to be the animation experience replacing that. A lot of people have been asking, like, is Disney going to basically announce anything at D23? And I've been saying for a while, I don't think they're going to announce really much at all. And if they do announce much, it'll just be updates about whatever is coming to the parks, as they had a slew of announcements at the last D23 back in November. So given that is going on, I don't think they're going to be announcing anything new. And I don't think they'd be announcing anything new at the panel if they had a panel, which they're not having a parks panel this year, a dedicated one. But they're already, releasing this information before the event going on. So I think they would have saved a lot of this to kind of showcase during that, which I suppose they still could. But I'm just not going to go into it thinking there's going to be major announcements coming out of this. I think the one thing you could see is they do have a villains panel thing going on. You could see some sneak peeks of what's going to happen with Villains Land. But also at the same time, I do think it would be good for Disney to get out of doing these big splashy panels, getting people all excited, hype up these things, because ultimately, Disney has this kind of habit now of over-promising and under-delivering. And I think they kind of get the tendency to go up on stage, make a real big deal about these things because you want the audience to be involved, you want people to be excited. But if you're not going to follow through on those things, whether or not it's outside your control, maybe it was budget cuts, maybe it's, logistics, you have to change about lands and rides. But I think it ends up disappointing people whenever you see these things. And nothing was as egregious as the Epcot overhaul, as what was shown, what that was going to be from the concept art to the final product was quite the difference there. And I think that's probably the worst offender when you're talking about disappointment from what things that were announced to what the final product was. But I kind of think Disney should take a page kind of again out of Universal's book. If you look how Universal announces new attractions for the most part, like we're seeing right now with Rip Ride Rocket, that ride shut down. It is being demolished in record time, and we still don't know what's replacing it. And we probably won't know what's replacing it, I'm going to say, for months, because typically the kind of way Universal works is they start construction, maybe halfway through it, they tell you what it's going to be, then they show you some concept art, but by that point, you are not that far away from the ride or land opening, and I think it really does help the fan base be excited about these things, because it's one thing to see something that you really want to enjoy, and then you're like, it's going to be here in a year, or maybe a year and a half. It's another thing whenever it's like, hey, here's a new thing that's coming, you're not going to see it for 5 years, and that's essentially kind of what Disney does. As well as I think the audience is many times gets trained to, they want the new thing. So you give them the new thing and they digest it and they get excited about it. And then right away they're like, okay, what's the next new thing? And then you just get in this habit of just constantly feeling this pressure to announce new things coming to the parks. And I think announcing things is fine if you intend on following through with them. But I think what Disney should do is focus more on these lands that they are currently building and making sure that these things are absolute home runs. I mean, there is a lot of pressure on these lands. Given what Universal Studios is doing, given what Epic Universe is right now, they're, basically you could say raising the bar in terms of what people are expecting from theme park experiences. And given a lot of the, I guess you say, disappointment or controversy over some of the recent things that Disney has either redone or opened being, not up to the normal standards, I guess you could say, in terms of what Disney is known for over the decades, I think there's a lot of pressure on them to deliver on these lands that they are currently building, especially when you're going to take out, the Rivers of America, you're going to take out Muppet Vision 3D, like you're taking out, areas of the parks that people have enjoyed. So whatever's replacing these needs to be an absolute home run. And I think they should be focusing on that, not on these announcements per se. And I don't know if Disney is going to end up getting out of this habit of doing it. I think it would be good for them. But I think especially at this Destination D23, you're not going to see, major announcements. I don't think you're going to see a brand new land be announced or a brand new attraction be announced. I think you're mostly, if you're going to see anything, it's going to be updates about current things that they're building. But even if they were to reveal some of those, and let's say they even do Villains Land, I think it'll be pretty vague because Villains Land is still going to be sometime in 2030 before that is completed. And I think you're just so far away from that. Even if you have people excited, it's just like, what are you getting out of announcing anything right now with that so far down the line? There's no dedicated parks panel this year, which I know some people have been disappointed by, but personally, I think if Disney was starting to get out of this, Apple-like presentations where every year they got to come up and here's the latest thing like an iPhone coming out, I think it would be much better if they got out of that habit and just concentrated on delivering experiences and attractions to the parks, and really that being their focus and not really putting on a show or just trying to win headlines, because I think ultimately you may win a headline or get some attention for a week or two, but people move on, and then it's just, what is the next new thing? So that's kind of how I view it there personally. But if you are looking at Destination D23 this weekend coming up, I will be very surprised if they have any major announcements. But we wait and see if they do, and whatever they do talk about and announce, we will talk about on here and let you know about it. But either way, that is going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about all this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.